What Daniel Johnston Means to Me by Patrick Joseph. This afternoon, Mamie and I watched the recent documentary The Devil and Daniel Johnston on DVD. It's available this Tuesday, September 19th, 2006, for those interested in renting it. I run a video store, so I actually had the opportunity to watch it a little bit early. Or a little late, if you count the fact that I missed it in the theater last year. Anyway, watching this film brought in mind, of course, my first exposure to Daniel Johnston, which was lent to me by a tape given to me by Paul Curry in November of 2001. It was a collection of Yip Jump music and some of Johnston's other handmade basement tapes that were floating around at the time. Of course, they were about 8 years old at this point, but it does take things a little while to make its way to Louisville, Kentucky. 5 years later, I'd be living in Austin, Texas, and as fate would have it, I was working during South by Southwest, the International Music Festival, and that evening I was working at a brand new club called the Atomic Cafe. That evening, Daniel Johnston was to play, 10 p.m. if I remember correctly. I think it was a Friday, maybe a Saturday. As I was working the door, the editor of the Trouser Press record guide, Ira something or other, came in. I recognized him by his name badge, to be honest. Two members of the Talking Heads came in. This was going to be a big night. People were excited. Johnston hadn't played in Austin for 5 years. Now, the owner, or rather manager, of the Atomic Cafe was a gentleman named Nam. As one might expect, this was sort of a shorthand for the fact that he was Vietnamese. Don't really know what his real name was, and at this point I don't care. He was running around ranting, "Who fucked this Daniel Johnston? Who just fucked Daniel Johnston? Who fucked Daniel Johnston?" He had no idea, no clue, never heard of him, but was running the alternative music club where he happened to be playing. I assured him that he was going to have to worry about the fire department by the end of the night. "Who fucked Daniel Johnston?" Well, at 10 p.m. that night, he knows exactly who fucked Daniel Johnston, and sellout crowd, fucking packed to capacity, over 400 people in the building, all there to see this little man that he'd never heard of. It was a good night. He did some good songs, very enjoyable. And that was my first exposure live to the man. It was also my only exposure to him. A year later, I would discover that my future wife had actually met him at the state hospital and would show me illustrations he'd done during her time spent around Mr. Johnston. The drawings are fascinating, obviously. We have this one again. "Hi, how are you?" Spray painted on the side of the Sound Exchange on the drag in Austin, Texas. Still there, even though the Sound Exchange is gone. McDonald's, when they bought out the building, wised up and realized if you tear down this local monument, the people will revolt. They won't want your hamburgers, or their Baja Fresh is the business that's there. That's about all I have to say about Daniel Johnston this evening. There are some more things here and there, little trailers of stories that go nowhere. I will say that watching the documentary, it was kind of fascinating that there were moments of acknowledgement, just seeing bits of Austin, seeing Austin as it looked in the early 90s, and then, of course, seeing some of the people that were interviewed, Ken Leake in particular. It's kind of fun watching a documentary and someone that you hung out with from time to time, back in the day, as it were, on screen, looking fresh-faced and excited, and talking about his love of Johnston's music. It was a good moment, a very good moment. That's about it for this week's edition of Rantacular, and this is our second in a running series, and this week's going to run a little short. I was hoping to make it up to 5 minutes, and to get it there, I'd have to bullshit a little bit. Dragged out enough already. You'll have a good evening. Thank you.